So, let's talk about GW, shall we? Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. As always, my name is Jay, and in this video I want to start a series that I've been asked a lot of questions over my years of making YouTube videos that I've kind of just sat on my hands. I don't really like to give opinions on some subject. I just like to keep my videos fun and neutral and stuff, and I've decided to, open up a little bit to my viewers. Be more truthful, be a little bit more fearless, but I'm going to do it in a fair way. I'm not going to be mean, I'm mean-spirited. That's not me. That's not my nature. So in this video I want to talk about what I really love and what I don't really love about Games Workshop at the moment. But let me preface this. This is not a crap all over GW video. I'm not going to be slanderous. I'm not going to be mean-spirited. I'm not going to attack them. I just want to be fair. These are the qualities I really like what they're doing. These are the qualities I'm not the biggest fan of what they're doing. Because in the end, it's really easy to make a crap on GW video. A lot of YouTubers love to do it. It's a great way of getting some views. We all know that YouTube loves, and media in general, negativity, right? If I made a video entirely yelling at GW, I'd get a lot more views than if I made a video entirely loving GW. That's just the way media works. Negativity gets views, and likes, and thumbs up, and shares. Positivity doesn't, as much as possible. So, and I'm not trying to come off magnanimous, it's just not my style. I'm not going to come up with a negative video just to get views. I want to come up with a fair discussion in the description below about, the pros and cons of a company that has really shaped miniature wargaming, right? I'm into miniature wargaming because of Games Workshop. A lot of you are, right? I do entirely 40K now. In the past I've done a little bit of fantasy, / AOS, Warhammer Hordes, Infinity painting, but I don't do any of those anymore. I do Games Workshop stuff. Why? Because Games Workshop is a company that got me into miniature wargaming and keeps me in miniature wargaming. And for that, I'm very thankful. So, if you're coming for a crap on GW video, sorry this isn't it, but I really do hope you enjoy this video, and let's talk about it. And if I missed anything, leave comments in the comment section about what you agree with. This is just my opinion, right? It's just as valid as your opinion, right? Your opinion matters just as much as mine. Let's create a discussion about this stuff, because I was asked recently by a viewer asking me about the current state of Games Workshop and the current state of Warhammer 40K. I've decided to make two different videos. Today is all about Games Workshop, the next one will be about 40K in general, because they are a little bit exclusive, right? I could really love the company and they hate the game, or vice versa. And, for the record, I actually think GW is doing okay. As far as the company goes, they're doing well. The last few years were a huge wake-up call to the community. A lot of people left the hobby. It's never been harder to get into miniature wargaming right now with the economy the way it is, especially in Canada. Inflation's through the roof. Cost of living's gone up. And COVID killed a lot of games because people couldn't get together. And for a variety of reasons, we've seen some of the major competitors to Games Workshop fall by the wayside. I used to see a gigantic booth every year at Adepticon and at Gen Con for Privateer Press, where they would do these huge pre-releases of the next 6 months worth of miniatures, and people would line up and fight over it. It was insane. And at the last Adepticon, I didn't even realize I was beside the booth for Privateer Press. It was smaller than my buddy Adam Austin's booth for Death Ray Designs. Right? They've fallen by the wayside. GW is obviously doing things right in some way, shape, or form because they're still alive. Companies are falling. And I'm not saying it's more popular than ever, but I'm noticing a lot of new wargamers. At my local Games Workshop / Warhammer store, there are literally 5 65-year-old women that play Warhammer 40K. Most of them play Space Marines, and they're not bad at all. I haven't played them yet. I want to play against them, right? That's awesome. I love that. So it's not all bad. So I'm going to break up this video to two parts: the good and the not so good or the bad. But I'm going to be respectful on both sides. I want to be fair because obviously no company's perfect. Every company makes decisions that are positive or negative. But I want to give my feedback of how I currently see Games Workshop. So let's start off with the positives. And this is especially over the last 5 years. I've really noticed this. 5-10 years. 5 to 6 or 7 years. Yeah. Number one, embracing. GW has embraced so much over the last, 6-7 years. Number one, they've embraced the competitive meta, right? They used to say we just make fun games, and if you want to break the game in a competitive circuit, feel free. You'd go to a tournament and you'd see 7 Hive Tyrants with wings on the field and a Dimacaron. That's not the way the game is meant to be played. And GW has correctly embraced the competitive circuit. They've created their own version of the competitive circuit versus letting others dictate their competitive circuit. They study the competitive circuit and look for ways to improve their game. Basically, the smartest thing that they can do is what they're doing. They're using their competitive meta as a group of hackers. Basically, like they're creating a website or a portal or something protected. And the competitive meta are the hackers who are always trying to break the game, break the lock, break the system. It's truly them who stretch the limits of the game, right? That are the competitive people. And so if something's ill-balanced and something's more competitive, if something is broken, some combination, it's the competitive meta who will push it. And they've pushed the game in so many silly ways in the past that like the rule of 3 models was created because people would be taking 7, 8, 9 Hive Tyrants in a list. It was ridiculous, right? A lot of the rules, the way that they changed the CP system was because of the competitive meta was so silly with the CP system and the stratagems. They're using it to improve the game. Right now they're analyzing the competitive meta to see which armies are top, which armies are bottom, right? And they're balancing accordingly. And I really think that's awesome, that they're embracing the competitive meta because these people, number one, are the most hardcore of the gamers. They love the game. And they read and they know everything about the game because they need to understand the system to bend it to their will, right? I have a lot of respect for the people who play the game all the time and play it competitively. I have fun, right? I can still win games, but I don't do that kind of stuff. And also they spend a lot of money because obviously they buy whatever's the most competitive at the time. So the competitive meta hasn't been embraced over the last several years. I really feel that. Number two, they've embraced the YouTube community, right? Because they've embraced us. We, like in the past, I remember the YouTube community was kind of shunned by them because we were considered like everything was secret, everything was locked down, and if you were the one that leaked the rules, you were in trouble. They saw us competitors or people naysayers, but obviously through the reviewer program, they embraced the YouTube community. Like being I only have 35,000 subscribers. There's tons of smaller channels out there that are part of the reviewer program. I'm not currently a part of the reviewer program. I'm going to make a video about that in the future. That's actually one of the topics I want to cover. It's really cool that they are willing to send you products for free and say, paint them, show them. Of course, follow the rules. You have a certain date and time that you can't release content before, but review us. Tell us what you think. Make videos. Promote our products. We care about your opinion. I think that's really awesome. And obviously there have been higher value people who've left the program or high people that have been kicked out of the program, but they broke the rules. Inadvertently, maybe vertently. Maybe unintentionally, right? I don't know. But the rule's the rules. And that's kind of it. Next, they've embraced the painting community, right? Games Workshop had their own group of painters, the heavy metal group. They painted their specific way, and to really get a job there, you had to paint a specific style. And GW has really embraced the painting community. They've trial and errored with painters. They brought in some amazingly talented painters to try out contrast and to promote them. But what I love is they've come out with some amazing models recently, and what they do is months beforehand, they send them to these amazing painters. These are not army painters. These are people who don't play Warhammer 40k, but they are incredible artists who are Golden Demon level, right? Slayer Sword level, Crystal Brush level. You know, every time there's a new model, I love to look and see Sam Lenz, who's one of my favorite painters. I've met him a bunch of times at Adepticon and a couple other conventions. He's like the coolest guy ever. And he doesn't play Warhammer 40k, but he's an incredible painter. And I love to see the flavor he brings, because he's not an heavy metal artist, right? He puts his own flavor on all these models, and you can see the beauty of it. And it makes me want to be a better painter to that. You know, when I'm painting a model of that detail, I want to push myself sometimes and be a better painter, because it's incredible to see what these guys and women who are not players, they don't play 40k, but they will bring an incredible style to 40k or AOS or whatever Games Workshop does. And by embracing the painting community, so now they're able to embrace the competitive meta to show us what the game can be like and how armies can be played, and they're willing to embrace the painting community to show us some incredible fashions that these models can be painted to. I love it. I love that. You know? And that's the embracing part. Next, of course, still. I'm going to call it still. Games Workshop is still making miniatures I want to buy and that I want to paint. Every edition looks better than the previous ones. Not entirely, obviously there's exceptions. But have you seen the new Necrons? They look incredibly better than the older versions of those Necrons. Some of the sculpts for the Tyranid army are actually pretty decent improvements. I'm not going to buy them because I have tons of them. But the new Gene Stealers look better than the old Gene Stealers. They're improving, right? They're still making miniatures I want to buy. They're still making miniatures I really want to paint and want to assemble. They're keeping my hobby alive. They're still making games I want to play. I like this edition of 40k. I'm going to talk about it in the next video that I make about this topic. But I still want to play 40k. Now, some people have fallen by the wayside. They don't want to play anymore. That's their version of this. And obviously that's just as valid, right, as mine. But I still want to play 40k. And they're still making paints that I want to use. I primarily use GW paints. Now, I use Dino-Res primers. I use, Reaper paints as well to complement my paints. I have a lot of paint, different types, right? I have Minotaur, I have Reaper, I have mostly Citadel. But I love the contrast lines. I also have the Army Painter speed paints. I love the contrast line. I've been loving speed painting armies using these paints and enjoying them, and quote-unquote slap chop method. They're making products I want to use for paints. They're making miniatures I want to paint, and they're making games I want to play. And so for me personally, that's a win. That's doing well. So now that I've said that, the positives, let's get to where GW could improve, right? And this is the part I'm only focusing on, but I want to be fair, I want to be honest, and I want to be respectful. I don't want to just make a crapping on GW video. So first of all, GW is not perfect, right? They're a publicly traded company, but they're making mistakes, obviously. And these next ones are easy ones, right? So obviously the price hikes. Obviously the cost of making miniatures is going up. They have to buy molds, they have to produce things. Cool. But the problem is with, if you look at the cost of living in North America, let's say Canada, for example, it's never been so expensive to live. And when you get more expensive to live, you gotta cut things by the wayside. And the first thing that goes in a lot of people's minds are the things that they can't afford anymore, is that the non-essentials. And 40k could be one of them, right? The top two reasons why everyone leaves the hobby is either they hate it, but they don't have the money, they don't have the time, they're mad at the edition, right? Those are the three reasons. But they're slowly pricing themselves out of the market. And obviously they do occasionally release the battle forces that you can buy stuff and save, which is phenomenal. You can always, go to a local store, 15% off, but still, it's never been more expensive. So obviously I don't buy a lot of miniatures. I bought some this year, but I don't buy a lot of miniatures. I still have tons from the past, and I always find cheaper ways of creating my armies. And obviously GW plays with the other companies now. This has been a change over the last, 7 years too. They used to not even be able to use photos, right? They'd all come up, like I remember Miniwargamer used to have to put up all their own photos for every miniature. They're not allowed to do that. GW did cap the other companies that they could only sell at 15% discount because they used to come up like 25%, 30%. They can't sell outside of their zone. So there's been a lot of restrictions placed on with the freedom of being able to use their photos, there's a lot of restrictions placed on other companies. It's not playing the nicest, but it's, in the middle. They could play a little nicer with companies. Obviously, in some cases, there's very limited stock sent to the competitors because they can make more money selling it themselves. That's logical, but it's just not playing the nicest, but it's business, right? So the first thing is obviously the relationship with the other companies. Some companies I've spoken with really do have a good relationship with GW, other ones don't. And they kind of basically told, if you want to be friends with GW, this is what you have to do. So that's the first thing. The second thing I am not the biggest fan of is this new Microsoft approach to miniature wargaming, where they're putting out products that are far from perfect and far from done. Now, the far from perfect approach has its upside that you can adapt the system, you can change it, you can maneuver it, you can balance it. But oh my goodness, this edition, when it first came out, was so imbalanced. And it took months to fix this. The beta testing approach. They use us as the beta testers. They look at the information and then they go, oh wow, this is so... But 3 months beforehand, when the rules started being leaked, some from GW, some from other sources, Eldari from a mile away, everyone was like, the sky is falling. This army is so imbalanced compared to the meta. And I wonder why it wasn't even thought of. They could have easily rebalanced it well ahead of the time, since all the things were digital anyway. They could have made changes, and they should have, right? In previous editions, it had been much more polished of a product that gets put out. In this edition, we're going to put out a very unfinished product, and we'll slowly finish it over time. And they've had to retract on a lot of rules changes, point changes. Another thing that kind of gets me about GW is the devaluation of the codices. To be honest, I have the Space Marine Codex right beside me. And I rarely open it. I feel that codices are almost worthless now. Because you get the app, you get all the rules. The lore's cool. But what kind of irks me is, before this book came out, it was already out of date. I'd never seen that before. This edition, Tyranids, was already out of date before it came out. Space Marines was already out of date before it came out, and I'm going to guess Necrons and AdMech will be out of date before they even came out. So it's like playing a game for those of you who know the show Whose Line Is It Anyway, where the points don't matter. It's kind of that feeling. It's like points don't matter. They're going to get adjusted anyway. The rules are going to get adjusted. Buying a codex is something that's so set in stone that within weeks of this codex, rules, words, points, models were changed. And so this book is out of date, and I've only had it for a month or two. That hurts. The devaluation of codices, because that's how the GW also makes them a lot of money. But I love the codices. I have a stack of codices in this room, and I love them. And I feel almost like they're being devalued. That's one thing as well. The next one is the devaluation of Forge World. GW obviously owns Forge World. They've kind of merged into one website recently. But it irks me when I feel that Forge World models should have a longer shelf life than standard models. And there have been so many Forge World models moved to Legendary over the last few years, it really hurts my heart. Because with Forge World models, they're expensive, they're temperamental to put together, they're awesome looking, they take a lot longer to paint usually, you spend more money on them, and now they're worthless. My favorite Tyranid model of all time is the Dimacaron, however you pronounce it. I bought one at Adepticon years ago, and I can't use it in games anymore. It's been legended, right? I spent a long time painting it. I spent a lot of money buying it, and it's like my favorite model. And same goes for, I spent extra money to get twin-linked Devourers on all my Hive Tyrants, right? I spent the money, bought the extra little kits, upgraded my Tyranids, and now they're legended. So I have to remove the arms in the near future. When I work on my Tyranid army, I'm going to be working on it. And I'm going to have to replace them with something, right? I hope I can find extra bits to replace them. And same with my Carnifexes. I have several Carnifexes with Twin Devourers as well. So I'm going to have to replace all those too, because they're not existent anymore. And so, no, those ones actually I could. Just the Hive Tyrants, yeah. So it sucks. And same with my Dreadnought, my Grey Knights Dreadnought with twin autocannons, right? Again, I paid extra. I bought them at Adepticon, and now I can't use that Dreadnought. The amount of time and care and love and attention Forge World models get, they should have a longer shelf life. Because I'm not buying another Forge World model for a long time, to be honest. I love my Grot tanks. If they ever got discontinued, my heart would break. They're like my remaining Forge World model I can use. Oh, sorry, other than my Knights. But they've put up plastic kits of all of them too. I just feel that I would be very precautious about buying another Forge World model in the near future, because they're very quick to die. And also then, and same with the upgrade kits, because now it's pretty much anything that comes in the box is going to be accepted. Anything outside the box is not going to be accepted. So the devaluation of Forge World is a legitimate thing. And I understand why their sales have dropped, right? They're more expensive. The next one, of course, is sometimes I feel GW comes out with products just for the sake of it, an ad hoc approach. This was especially apparent with the hobby tools. Like, okay, we don't offer a hobby knife, so we'll offer one with a cool handle, but it was like 7 times more than the normal hobby knife. I'm never going to buy that hobby knife. I do like the thing that you scrape mold lines off. I actually like that. I know a lot of YouTubers hate it, but I do like that. But again, I'm not going to buy the hobby pliers, the snipping kit, the knife. They're cool, but no, for the price, no, I'm never going to justify that. I know that they don't have one and they want to enter that part of the market, but still, it's a little silly. And then the other thing is, of course, GW is not gauging interest, in my opinion, in certain products, and they're creating a secondary market. And I've talked about this in previous videos too. It really annoys me. Now, if I go on eBay, I'm expecting to get something at a discount. Usually, I'm expecting maybe get a painted army for a good price, or a model that if someone's like splitting up a kit, if I buy the box set and I only need the Tyranid side, not the Space Marine side, I can break up the Space Marine side or sell it, right? It's designed as a marketplace for selling used goods. And that's what I expect. But in many cases over the last 5 years, there have been, well, last 3 years especially, there have been a bunch of limited edition runs where the Lion, for example, with his retinue, sold out in seconds. I couldn't get one. And if you went on eBay 5 minutes later, you'd find the Lion for sale for like 6, 7 times the price, 5 times the price. I never thought I'd see that. I know it's concert tickets, Taylor Swift concerts, it happens, right? The Lion, it shouldn't have happened. And that's not what this is for. But these limited edition runs, where once it's gone, it's gone. The Battle Forces were a recent example. Now, Battle Forces, if you go on eBay, you'll see some are pretty crazy prices. But they didn't gauge the interest. Obviously, they could have produced twice as much and sold them all as well. And that kind of annoys me, because then it goes to the worst of us. It goes to the capitalist side, where I am going to buy something and try to exploit it, which is, everyone's right. It is. But people with gaming systems and concert tickets, I never thought it would happen with models. And it's happening. And that kind of annoyed me too. But that's it. Those are my thoughts. You know, on goods and the bads. But in the end, I think GW's doing okay. And I still want to play games, and I'm going to still support them, because they're making models I want to paint with paints that I want to use for games that I want to play. And as long as they're doing that, I'm great. And I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not a part of the reviewer program at the moment. Maybe one day I will be again. I'll be very transparent about that. But I think in the end, I'm going to keep going. And because the game's still existing, and I think they're improving, I really think that they're going in a good direction overall. That doesn't mean they're perfect. Obviously, as I mentioned, there's several flaws. But what do you think? Leave comments in the comments section down below. Let's create a discussion that is respectful. Say your opinion. This is just my opinion. What is your opinion on this? I'm really curious. I want to create a discussion. Please like this video, comment in the comment section down below, and subscribe to my channel if you've already done so. Please click that bell button so that every time I make a new video, especially on these topics, you get to see. But that's my rant about the goods and the bads of GW. I hope I sounded respectful. I hope I didn't come off as too attacky. And yeah, and not overtly unnecessarily positive in a fictitious manner, because these are my honest opinions. So thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting my videos. Thank you for being a part of this discussion. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting.